Good evening and welcome to the NCWLIFE Evening News. I'm Eric Granstom in for Grant Olson on this Wednesday, the 29th of May, 2019. Before we get to today's top news stories, let's take a quick look outside our weather window. And we saw some thunder cells move into the area here this afternoon. In fact, it blotted out the sun for a while, creating cooler conditions than we expected, but kind of humid and balmy. Speaking of the hot temperatures, Eastern Washington expecting the temperatures to remain in the upper 70s to maybe the low 90s by the coming end of the week. Also, with the squeeze between two high-pressure systems, we're looking at possibility of isolated thunderstorms through this evening and early into tomorrow. We'll get you more on the forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Now, a few of the top stories we're following for you tonight. County crews were busily cleaning the flooded Stemilk Creek Road yesterday. Construction work near Confluence State Park will detour your use for the Apple Capitol Loop Trail. And the attack against goat heads is in full force. But first, we begin tonight with a story from a campground. A Kashmir man was arrested over the weekend for allegedly shooting a gun into a crowded campground at Fish Lake. The Chelan County Sheriff's Office says 31-year-old Gabriel Alexander Bufiu first fired shots near the Goose Creek campground on Saturday night, which led to a fight with neighboring campers in which Bufiu was punched in the face. At about 8:45 Sunday morning, Bufiu reportedly returned to the campground and fired another shot into a campsite that nearly hit a camper's dog. He later was arrested by deputies in a traffic stop and jailed for drive-by shooting and DUI. Well, here's a look at footage of crews working on the upper Stemilk Creek Road yesterday morning, cleaning up after the creek there left its channel and flowed over the roadway. Saturday and Sunday, rains caused the creek to overflow. Crews were waiting for the water to recede before they could fix the ditch and road on the creek side. In the meantime, the edge of the pavement was coned off, signs put up, and the roadway was restricted to one lane. Well, users of the Apple Capitol Recreational Loop Trail will need to detour around construction work just north of Confluence State Park for the next few days. Chelan County PUD crews will be repairing and replacing sections of pavement on the ramp to and from the Otobashan Bridge. The work started today and will continue through Friday. Signs will direct users, trail users that is, around that work. Well, the city of Wenatchee is getting serious about getting rid of those pesky and destructive goat heads, also known as puncture vines. Goat heads are now included on the list of things the city can order property owners to deal with. In updating numerous city codes at its last meeting, the City Council approved the recommendation of Inspection Services Manager Cliff Burdick to put goat heads in the city's bullseye.
This ordinance contains three small amendments to Chapter 6A14 nuisances. It adds the plant commonly known as puncture vine or goat head to the definition of a public nuisance, therefore giving our code enforcement staff the ability to abate puncture vine.
So the idea on puncture vine, when we had our goat head warriors out, technically they couldn't go onto somebody else's property and spray or abate, and now they would have the ability to, in certain instances, go on and perhaps do some abatement.
It would require the property owner to abate it.
And if they didn't?
Then we could do it.
Okay.
We could abate it.
You would file.
You would go through code enforcement board. They're going to make a ruling, giving them certain amount of time to
As we would do with
correct
any
the
other.
violation. If they didn't, they're going to get fined $100 a day for 30 days.
So currently our code doesn't have puncture vine as being one of the ones we could do that for.
Yeah. It needs to be a knowing violation. You know, we probably all had goat heads that show up,
Right.
you know, and you're like, oh, where'd that come from? But, so you get a notice, then if you don't comply, don't fix it, then you get cited.
And that's our code enforcement process, is you go first. That's our first part of code enforcement, is you go and talk to the people before we start an action. Give them the ability to correct the violation first.
Since 2016, the nonprofit group Goat Head Warrior has been attacking the puncture vine problem in the Wenatchee Valley by scouting and eliminating any plants before they can drop new seeds. In addition to being potentially painful for people and pets, goat heads also puncture bicycle tires. Anybody who's traveled the Loop Trail knows about that. Coming up next, friends of Leavenworth are asking for reconsideration of an adventure park. Aviation Day is coming to Pangbourne Memorial Airport this weekend, and the Chelan PUD wants your input. I'm Eric Granstom, and you're watching the NCWLIFE Evening News. Stay with us.
You don't have to be a member to enjoy the view and dine-in style at Highlander Bar and Grill in East Wenatchee. Open 7 days a week, Highlander Grill offers breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in or take it to go, our friendly staff is here to serve you. Reservations recommended for Friday night's prime rib dinner. Call for live music dates. Hi, I'm Shalane, site coordinator for Highlander Grill. Give me a call to schedule your event today.
If you want to work in healthcare, choose the program that teaches the skills employers want. The Charter College Medical Assistant Program combines hands-on learning in the lab with convenient online learning, plus real-life experience with an externship. Classes start every 5 weeks, so you don't have to wait to launch your new career. Enroll with confidence, knowing Charter is institutionally accredited by the Accrediting Bureau of Health Education Schools, and be ready to work in less than a year. Charter College. We work to get you to work.
Moving doesn't have to be back-breaking, stressful work. And I don't want you to make a move that way ever again.
Traditionally, you would rent a truck. You would load up your stuff. You would rent a storage unit. You would transport it. And finally, you would unload your stuff yourself. You don't have to lift a finger. We bring the mobile storage unit to you, we drop it off, then one of our trusted packers can load it for you. We come pick it up and store it securely for you. We bring it back to you. No hassle, no stress.
And welcome back to the NCWLIFE Evening News. In for Grant Olson, I'm Eric Granstom. Well, a Leavenworth citizens group has asked the city's hearing examiner to reconsider his decision supporting the development of an amusement park at the west end of town. Dwayne Gaynor with the Friends of Leavenworth said today on a Facebook post that a request has been filed with the city following a review by 3 of the group's attorneys. Now, hearing examiner Andy Kotkamp ruled in favor of the developer's request for a conditional use permit for the proposed adventure park. His decision followed a marathon public hearing where dozens of people voiced concerns over traffic, parking, and noise. Gaynor says the group's actions this week are the first step in the appeal process, which ultimately could be decided in court. Well, World War II history comes alive at this weekend's Aviation Day celebration at Pangbourne Memorial Airport. Saturday's event will feature a B-25D bomber owned by Seattle-based Historic Flight Foundation. It was the first U.S. Army plane to see action on every fighting front of World War II, the first to sink a submarine, and the first medium bomber to fly from a carrier deck. Yet it was designed in just 40 days without wind tunnel tests or prototypes. The plane will fly into Pangbourne on Friday and will take center stage for a full day of aviation-related displays and exhibits between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Chelan County PUD customers are being asked to help shape the district's direction over the next 5 years. Steve Hare has more.
What is quality of life? What does quality of life mean to you? Is it living in a special place? Is it the people who surround us? Is it having the power to shape our own lives?
The strategic planning process is underway, and part of it involves a survey that was mailed out to customers last week. The survey includes a guide and questionnaire concerning key PUD issues. Those who participate and are willing to include their name and contact information will be entered to win a Fitbit. A paper survey and return mailer is included with the guide. People also can take it online at the PUD's website. Also online are several short videos like this one with more information. The PUD has set a June 21st deadline for returning the survey forms. Steve Hare, NCWLIFE News.
We received word late this afternoon that the founder of the Town Auto Group, Tom Barrows, has passed away. According to reports, Barrows had been suffering from poor health over the past several years, including heart troubles. Barrows began the Town Auto Group in the early 2000s with the purchase of the Toyota dealership from Max May and the Nissan dealership from Don Reichert. Since then, they've added Lincoln Mercury, Ford, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, and Dodge. The Town Toyota Facebook page included a quote from Barrows from the company saying, "It is with sadness that we share the news of the passing of Mr. Tom Barrows, owner and founder of Town Auto Group. Tom loved his family, respected his colleagues, and wanted the most for his customers. He attributed his success to the people who worked with and for him." End quote. Tom Barrows dead at the age of 78. Well, you're watching the NCW Life Evening News. Coming up next, tonight's feature story and your complete local weather forecast. That and much more still to come on the NCW Life Evening News. Stay with us.
Arctic Refrigeration and Heating has been serving North Central Washington for 34 years. Arctic provides the finest heating and cooling air quality products for residential and commercial customers, along with prompt and professional customer service. Arctic also offers specialty services like custom sheet metal fabrication of ductwork, coil cleaning, as well as planned fall and spring maintenance for the overall well-being of your system. Arctic is available for emergency calls 24/7. Call Arctic Refrigeration and Heating for your heating and cooling needs.
It's estimated that 1/3 of Americans do not have a financial plan. At D.A. Davidson, their advisors are working to change that because they understand the importance of planning for the future. At D.A. Davidson, they believe in partnering together to build a strategy tailored to your needs. They spend the time and have the knowledge to help keep your financial future on track. Let D.A. Davidson Financial Advisors of Wenatchee put the strength of advice to work for you. Thanks for watching the NCW Life Evening News. I'm Eric Granstom in for Grant Olson. In our feature story today, Chelan County Sheriff Brian Burnett dismisses claims that legalizing recreational marijuana has slowed down pot sales on the black market. The Sheriff's Office has released its 2018 annual report in which Burnett reports a very active year for the Columbia River Drug Task Force. That report is available in print form and online at the Chelan County website. Steve Harris sat down with the sheriff to discuss his concerns about the new law and how his office is dealing with it. This is the first of two parts of that interview.
And again, we're talking with Chelan County Sheriff Brian Burnett about the annual report that's out now, both in this soft cover print version and online. Getting back into the narcotics topic, since the state legalized recreational marijuana, what are you looking at now in terms of the illicit trade activity out there?
Well, I mean, there was this false pretense that legalizing marijuana was gonna slow down the black market. And I think there's still some legislators and people out there that they get their heads buried in the sand, and I'll say it straight to their face. That's not the case. Mm-hmm. All of the information we're getting from the federal levels that it has just exploded. I've heard that marijuana that is legally grown in the state of Washington is now available and being delivered to multiple states all across this nation. So supply and demand. And what that did is it made it more readily social available and acceptable. And so now we're seeing an uptick in our use in our teens and our schools.
So you are seeing an increase?
Oh, that happened overnight. Right away, just within a few months, the schools were talking to us and saying we're seeing a difference. And again, and it could be as far as maybe you had the individual that was a closet smoker, and so they were buying some illegal marijuana and doing it at home, but they weren't allowing, that information to maybe their children. And now all of a sudden it's legal, so I can go down and it's socially acceptable now. And so that it made it allowable and more acceptable, or where the kids can access it.
Right, more accessible.
And more accessible. And so, and maybe even sharing by adults to juveniles. And so those numbers are supply and demand. So now we went from how many users in the state of Washington to, and I don't know what those numbers are, but they're obviously, they're big, because the state is talking and bragging about how much money they're bringing in for tax revenue.
Well, sunny and hot. If you left your car parked with the windows closed today, you were probably like me, a little shocked at how warm it was inside the vehicle today. Before we get to a look at what's happening as far as the weather is concerned, again, a look outside the weather window, and you can see some of those thunder cells on the horizon. We'll talk about that. We're kind of in between two high pressure systems that can develop these thunderheads. We're expecting maybe some of those to develop into maybe some lightning activity, but otherwise very sunny and hot day here in the Wenatchee Valley. And high temperatures, expecting 88. We did get a little cloud cover and didn't get quite to that. 83 the high today here for the Wenatchee Valley. 46 the overnight low. That was at about, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock this morning, something like that. Normal for this time of year, yeah, it is warm considering that we're at the 29th of May. 75 the normal for this time of year. 52 the overnight low. So we're high on the high end and low on the low end. The record high temperature for today was set in 1986. My senior year in high school. I'm trying to remember, of course, that was Western Washington. It was really hot to end of May, sure. 98 for the high temperature back in 1986. 76, the record low of just 40 degrees. No precipitation in the last 24 hours. We're still at 3 3/4 inches for the year so far. That includes the snowfall we had in March. Sunrise this morning was at 5:10. Sunset tonight, 8:47. Getting longer and longer in the daylights as we burn our way towards the summer solstice, looking at June 21st. Now, let's talk about what's happening as far as this weather is concerned. As we put the surface model in motion, we're expecting these two systems that are basically kind of sandwiching things here in north central Washington and eastern Washington. It's high pressure out on the coast, and then high pressure that's off behind us over in Idaho. Yeah, off behind us. And that's kind of squeezing things here for our area in north central Washington. Now, as we look ahead, the chances for some unsettled conditions with some thunder cells moving through exists for tonight, maybe tomorrow, but especially on Friday. As we get into the weekend, though, things are looking really nice as far as the pressure gradients are concerned, things kind of calming down. But right now, again, we've got a high pressure system that is off the coast and another high pressure system that's on the Idaho Panhandle, kind of squeezing things here. That's causing kind of unsettled conditions, if you will, where you've got the warm thermals. We'll see that in our kicker video coming up in a little bit. Warm air rising, and we've got some cold air dropping down off of those highs. Actually, a low pressure system here in central Washington. And so as you get that, you get the cumulus nimbus out there and a chance for some thunder shower activity. So let's take a look at our quick lube and tune forecast as we step ahead to tonight. Maybe some gusty winds developing. We might see those thunder cells kind of seep down into the Wenatchee Valley. That could drop some rain. It could drop some hail possibly in places in eastern Washington, especially as you head to the Idaho Panhandle and the eastern Washington border. Low tonight down to 62. Tomorrow we're going to see sunny and breezy conditions with a high of 88. Those breezes mainly in the morning hours. 64 the overnight low on Thursday night. As we get into Friday, here we go with some sunny skies to start the day. Maybe a chance of some thunder cells moving in again through the evening on Friday or afternoon on Friday. 90 for the high, 90 for the high on Friday. As we look ahead to the rest of the forecast here, we're looking at 90 degrees again on Saturday, mostly sunny and warm on Sunday with a high of 85. So sorry you didn't get your Memorial Day weekend weather until a week late, but a gorgeous weekend in store for us as we look ahead by the first part of next week. A little cooler conditions, but still sunny and nice and dry. High temperatures in the 80s, nighttime lows in the 50s. We might see a little moisture coming back our way by the latter part of next week. That's your quick lube and tune forecast. Coming up next on the NCWLIFE channel, your evening sports and our kicker video of the night. Stay right there, and thanks for watching the NCWLIFE Evening News.
At some point, we realized that value and practicality go hand in hand. A time when an unnoticed accumulation of items has become burdensome. These possessions still have value, but now lack usefulness. Donate your unwanted items to Goodwill and become a job creator. Your donations allow Goodwill to provide much-needed training to job seekers in our community, and that's pretty useful for everyone. Be a job creator. Donate. Goodwill. There's more behind the store.
Dear Mary Maids, please clean the kitchen, and the cabinets, and the floors, and the chairs. And I wish you could clean the dog. Colin is now feeding himself. Thanks, Megan.
Hi, Megan. No worries. We got it all cleaned up. Let's hope Colin gets past the spaghetti flinging stage soon. Till then, we've got you covered. See you next time, Mary Maids.
I'm Tom from Alpine Air Heating and Cooling. At Alpine Air, we think of ourselves as customer service-oriented retailers. When you make an appointment, please visit our store, meet our people, see our shop. We are serious about heating and air conditioning. Carrier and Alpine Air are offering huge factory rebates and financing options for all your needs. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Alpine Air. Call for your free replacement estimate. Heat and air, call Alpine Air, 662-6846.
And now it's a sports update on the NCWLIFE channel.
And a happy Wednesday to you. Not so happy if you're a Mariner fan. Yes, they lost again today. Despite two-run home runs by Tim Beckham and Mitch Haniger, Seattle gave up a two-run lead to Texas over the last two innings and fell by a final of 8-7 today. Yeah, it seems the Mariners finding all the ways to lose. Texas scored 2 runs off Roenis Elias in the 8th, another off Anthony Bass, who, yes, in the 9th to earn the victory. Seattle starter Wade LeBlanc shook off a shaky first inning. He went 5, allowed 3 runs, all of those in the first frame. He struck out 5. Nomar Mazara proved once again to be a Mariner killer. He went 3 for 5 at the plate with 3 runs. Seattle will next host the Angels tomorrow at 7:10. Let's go back to last night. Another rough day and evening for the Mariners at T-Mobile Park. Ronald Guzman's 3-run home run highlighted a 7-run 5th inning as Texas topped Seattle 11-4 in last night's game, so the Rangers took 2 of 3 from Seattle. Marco Gonzalez lost his 5th straight decision, lasting just 4 innings, allowing 8 runs on 8 hits with 4 strikeouts. The former Apple Sox pitcher hasn't won since April 25th. At that point, he was 5-0. The Mariners were first place in the division. Since then, he's dropped to 500, while the Mariners have gone 7-22. Manager Scott Service said it may be something mechanically with Gonzalez as far as last night.
It just looks like he's a little off, maybe a tick off mechanically, and late in getting some balls, typically where he doesn't, in the middle of the plate. So, Marker is a really good competitor, and it drives him crazy when he's not able to, get deep in the ball game. So, he'll get, take a look at some video and hopefully, tighten it up and get back to what he's normally capable of doing, living on the edges, using all of his pitches, and just wasn't able to repeat pitches tonight and sequence them up like he typically does.
To literally add injury to insult, Mariners shortstop J.P. Crawford left the game late with an ankle injury and a rundown at third base. Scott Service was hoping it would be just a sprain. They did some x-rays last night and did come out today and say that it is a sprain. He's on the injured list for 10 days. Crawford had gone 2 for 3 with a run and an RBI in the game before his injury. Malik Smith performed well in the leadoff spot, going 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs. Mariners just losing 2 of 3. Now they've lost, 12 of their last 14 games. They'll try to right the ship against the Angels starting tomorrow night at Safeco Field. Safeco, I keep doing that, T-Mobile Park. On the Les Schwab scoreboard in the American League West on Tuesday, Alex Bregman hit 2 home runs to give him an American League leading 19 on the season. Houston beat Chicago 9-6. Shohei Ohtani lined a tie-breaking 2-run single in the top of the ninth to give the Angels a 6-4 win over Oakland. So the standings in the American League West are pretty much the same, with Houston on top at 37-19. Oakland slipped with the loss to 7.5 back at 29-26. Rangers, that's the results prior to today's game. So Texas now a game over 500, edging closer to Houston in the process. Seattle now on the bottom of the stack, 14 games out at 24 and 34 on the season. Well, we're just 5 days away from the start of the Wenatchee Apple Sox 20th season, believe it or not, and you can get a sneak peek of this summer's team this Saturday during Apple Sox Fan Fest. Fans can watch a live practice for free from 5 to 6:30 at Saturday night at Paul Thomas Senior Field. Manager Kyle Crustangel finalized his 40-man roster with the signing of Washington State sophomore infielder Cody Colden. Crustangel said he wanted to go with an older, more experienced lineup this season.
But, we've been right there for 2 straight years, and we definitely feel like, this is the best roster put together that we've had so far entering. I'd say a couple of things that we're focused on was, 1, getting older, and 2, getting a few more arms. I mean, arms are hard to come by at this level as everyone's so protective of their quality arms. So we just decided to add, a few more spots. And I think the extra arms and a little bit deeper period. So I felt really good about the 2 biggest kind of needs was adding more arm and getting more experience, and we definitely achieved both those goals in the off season, which I look to help us, at the start and throughout the summer.
Crustangel doing his Max Headroom impersonation there. 18 of the 40 players on the roster are upperclassmen. Again, Fan Fest Saturday at 5 at the ballpark. Admission is free. There will be ballpark food available for purchase as well. We'll have the voice of the Apple Sox, Joel Norman, joining us Friday on a preview right here on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Well, our kicker video of the day, we bring you the highs and even higher highs of paragliding off Chelan Butte today. Apparently a bug wanted to get in on it as well. It's kind of like surfers looking for the perfect wave. They say when surf's up, paragliders looking for those warm thermals to jump off a mountain and somehow go up rather than down. You won't catch me doing that. If you have a video of the day you'd like to see on the NCWLIFE Evening News, message us on our Facebook page at NCWLIFE channel. That's going to do it for our newscast tonight. For more on these stories and other news from around North Central Washington, you can find us on Facebook or our website at ncwlife.com. And remember, if you see news happening, we'd like to hear from you. You can send us an email at news@ncwlife.com or give us a call at 888-NCWL. That's 888-6295. Also, keep it right here on the NCWLIFE channel tomorrow morning for Wake Up Wenatchee Valley with your host, Dan Kuntz. I'm Eric Granstom, filling in for Grant Olson. Thanks for joining us, and have a great night. NCWLIFE channel is your home for local news, local weather, and events including live local high school sports. Watch inspiring local shows featuring local people. Don't miss Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Let's learn. Guada TV. Street Talk and other stuff. The 12th District. Life with Lisa. And the Arbiter of Stoke. NCWLIFE channel is your local TV station.
Hey there, Wenatchee. I'm Sean Lee, and I'm inviting you to check out the NCW Movie Guide to keep up on what movies are playing in our town.
At Local Myth Pizza, Pizza, we believe in real food, freshly prepared with only premium ingredients. Our cheeses are imported from Italy. Our sauces, dressings, and even our sausages are made in-house fresh daily. Featuring Northwest craft beers and 30 Chelan Valley wines and ciders. Family fun and amazing food. Eat local, drink local, and be local at Local Myth Pizza.
Come see why Sunset Magazine says you can't beat Local Myth Pizza.
I'm Jenny Kerstetter, and you are watching the NCWLIFE channel.